If you have very few friends, it doesn't mean you're broken. And it's not because you're awkward, cold, or bad at socializing. Most people get this wrong. The real reason is quieter, deeper, and it has nothing to do with trying harder. Once you see it, your past friendships, and the lack of them, start to make sense. 1. You don't tolerate fake people. You're not bad at making friends. You're just extremely sensitive to what isn't real. You notice it instantly. Forced smiles, polite conversations that feel empty, people who say the right things but mean something else. Most people ignore that discomfort. They adapt. They play along. You can't. Your mind picks up on insincerity, on subtle manipulation, on hidden agendas. So you don't stay where you have to pretend. You don't force yourself to fit in. That's why your circle stays small. Not because you reject people, but because you refuse to abandon yourself. 2. You crave real connection, not small talk. Surface-level conversations don't stimulate your mind. You can do small talk if you have to. You can answer politely, smile, nod, but inside something feels off. Talking about the weather, routines, or random updates doesn't make you feel closer to anyone. It just makes you tired. You don't want noise. You want meaning. You want conversations where people say what they actually feel, where silence doesn't feel awkward, where you don't have to explain yourself every 5 minutes. That's why being surrounded by people can still make you feel invisible. Everyone is talking, but no one is really connecting. You're not looking for attention. You're looking for resonance. And when you don't find it, your energy drops. So you pull back. Not because you dislike people, but because pretending to connect feels worse than being alone. Most people bond easily over surface-level interaction. You don't. Your mind is wired to go deeper, to ask questions that matter, to feel things fully. That doesn't make you difficult. It makes you selective. You're not antisocial. You're not distant. You're built for depth. And depth doesn't show up in every room. 3. You overthink every social interaction. Conversations don't end when they're over. They follow you home. You replay them while brushing your teeth, while staring at the ceiling, sometimes at 2 a.m., for no reason at all. You remember the exact sentence you said, and suddenly wonder, did that sound weird? Then another thought appears. Was that too much? Or worse, was that not enough? Welcome to your brain. You don't just talk. You review. Your mind analyzes tone, facial expressions, pauses that probably meant nothing, but your brain still files them under possible issue. To be clear, this isn't because you're insecure. It's because you're highly aware. Psychology shows that people with high self-awareness often stay mentally active in social situations, while others relax. Your brain keeps working overtime, and that constant mental activity has a cost. A conversation that felt casual to someone else can feel like a full meeting in your head. So sometimes distance feels easier than effort. Not because you don't like people, but because your mind never really clocks out. And honestly, sometimes the quiet is the only place your thoughts can rest. 4. You learn to rely on yourself. At some point, you stopped waiting for people. Not because you wanted to, but because life taught you how. Maybe you reached out and no one showed up. Maybe you learned early that depending on others often led to disappointment. So you adapted. You learned how to sit with your own thoughts, how to solve problems quietly, how to keep moving even when support was missing. Over time, that became normal. You don't panic when you're alone. You don't need constant reassurance. You don't look for someone to fill the silence. Some people see that and assume you're lonely or emotionally distant. But psychology sees something else. It sees independence, internal regulation, self-trust. You rely on your own judgment, your own values, your own sense of direction. That changes how friendships form. You don't chase people. You don't force closeness. You don't stay just to feel included. You wait for connection that feels mutual, respectful, real. And if it doesn't show up, you're okay walking alone. Not because you don't care, but because you've learned how to stand on your own. 5. Social interactions drain you faster than others. Being around people costs you more energy than it costs most. Not because you dislike them. Not because you're shy. And not because you don't know how to socialize. It's because your system processes more. While others are just talking, you're listening to tone, reading facial expressions, picking up on what's not being said. Your brain is doing background work all the time. So even simple interactions require focus. A short conversation can feel like a long one. A casual gathering can feel overwhelming. And when it's over, you don't feel fulfilled, you feel tired. Some people leave social situations energized. You leave needing quiet. That doesn't mean something is wrong with you. Psychology links this to a more sensitive nervous system. Your mind takes in more input, so it needs more time to reset. That's why alone time isn't a luxury for you. It's essential. It's where your thoughts slow down, where your emotions settle, where your energy comes back. Without that space, you don't just feel drained, you feel disconnected from yourself. So when you choose solitude, you're not avoiding people. You're taking care of your system, and that awareness is a form of strength, even if it's misunderstood. 6. You have a rich inner world. All of these traits point to one deeper truth. You live more on the inside than most people. Your thoughts don't stay on the surface. Your emotions don't pass quickly. You notice details others overlook. While some people move easily through the world, you move deeply through it. You reflect. You imagine. You replay moments not to judge yourself, but to understand them. That inner world becomes a place you know well. A place where you think things through, where you make sense of life quietly. And because of that, you don't rush connection. You don't bond just to fill space. You don't keep people close just to avoid being alone. You wait for something that feels real, that can make friendships slower to form, harder to find, easier to miss. But when they happen, they're not shallow. They're built on understanding, on trust, on being seen without having to explain everything. You don't need many people to feel connected. You need the right ones. And when you find them, you show up fully. You listen deeply. You care genuinely. You stay. People like you don't collect friends. They build bonds that last. So if you have very few friends, now you know the real reason. It was never about being difficult, or broken, or not trying hard enough. It was about depth, sensitivity, and awareness. You don't connect fast, because you don't connect lightly. And people like that don't build many connections. They build real ones. If this helped you see yourself more clearly, stay with the channel. The next video might explain another part of you that no one ever put into words.